Okay, I am so excited to have you on, Winnie. We didn't meet so long ago, but our association since then has been so interesting. I've learned a huge amount from you and the way you run your business, and that's what I'd like to ask you about today. And yeah, it's just been great watching you grow and getting the insight into what you're doing. So can you just start by explaining your unique overall approach to making decisions in your business? It's so unique and so incredible.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited. Usually I share about my parenting approach, which excites me tremendously. It's my passion in life. But it's exciting to also share like another side of me here with you. So thank you for that. Now it's interesting. You say like sharing about my unique approach. I wouldn't know that it's unique because I actually don't speak to that many people about how they run their business. But
Right.
you, as somebody who does support people who run businesses, I guess from your end, it is unique.
Yeah, I only know one other creator who runs their business the same way as you.
I think what you're talking about is that I do it like intuitively, like about how
Right.
it feels in my body.
So what do you mean how it feels in your body?
Yeah. So if let's say somebody suggests an idea, or even if I think of an idea myself, like let me do this course. And then immediately I check, it's not even like I check, I feel how it feels in my body. And if I feel sort of a contraction or something in me is like, just doesn't, it doesn't, there's not a feeling of excitement or abundance, or it's almost like I think of it as, this might sound crazy, but you know how it says that in order to have Ruach HaKodesh, you need to be open.
Happy.
Like, exactly. The word they use is happy. Something in you needs to be very like open, joyful, or something like that, not closed off. That's what I'm looking for. Like I'm looking for that feeling of happy, but it's not really happy. It's like an openness, a certain, yeah. And if I don't feel that, then it doesn't necessarily mean that right away I nix the idea, but I keep searching and searching until I find the path that does feel that way.
Wow. So you mean it could be very, very similar, just a slightly different direction. But it feels better.
Exactly. And actually, I sometimes talk about it with other people. For example, you're one of them, to help me search for what feels good in my body. Like I'll say, I thought of this idea and then I want to hear from you. And then based on what you share with me, I tap into how it feels, what you share. And if there's something that you're like, and I'm like, oh, that's it. That's it. That's what I want to do. That's how I want to do it. Or if someone else shares it, but that's really how I do it.
Wow. Was this always the way you did things?
It's a good question. I'll tell you what, I think I will say that it was always the way I did things, but I didn't realize, meaning it wasn't conscious until probably 5 years ago. I've been running my business almost for 10 years.
Wow.
I think I always did it, meaning if I felt resistance to something, I just wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't know how to explain it. And I didn't really know what I was doing. And I think I would even judge myself for it. But now I have a deeper understanding and also appreciation even of it. Yeah.
Wow. Many people at the beginning of their online business journey, the money just isn't there, right? And so they're thinking of transitioning away from a regular job paid per hour, and they're thinking of stepping into this world. And I heard from one creator, it literally feels like stepping off a cliff. Like the first time she just turned her back on her 9 to 5, and somebody who's in that position and they feel like I really need to make money and I need to make it yesterday, right? It's going to be very, very hard for them to tap into any kind of intuition. So were you ever in a place like that and you found it harder?
I fully agree with you. I could not agree with you more. When you're in desperation, you're not able to access, I think, like any of these feelings. It's hard. When I started my business, I actually was working a 9 to 5. Well, sort of 9 to 5 with a little bit shorter hours, but basically that kind of job. And I didn't leave until I was making enough money in my business that I wouldn't feel panicked if I left. So I was never in that position. However, there were times in my business where before I launched something new or whatever, I would start panicking. Or like, what if I don't get enough people? What if I don't like that? And actually, that to me is also something that I'm very conscious of in my business as well, is that I never want to market anything from that place. For me, it just feels so misaligned. Again, speaking of this idea of, listen, Parnasa comes from Hashem, right? So I need to, for me, it doesn't make sense to not be connected to expansion or to anything that's godly when I am trying to make a Parnasa. And not only that, it doesn't require that, meaning Hashem is always there to provide. And so I want to tap into that trust and into that space where I trust that Hashem is going to provide for me. And it's not, when I say it, I imagine people think of it in our minds, because I was raised with these ideas that were very intellectual. It just stayed in my mind, like Hashem, trust Hashem. This is very body centered. It's an experience of these things. It's not just an idea in my head. It's two different things in my experience. Again, I do get into desperate places and into fear-based places. Of course, I'm human. However, when that happens, I really try to talk about it with people, to work through it, and to get back to this place of, trust and abundance. And that's where I want to market from. But to be honest, there have been times that I've marketed from that place, from a fearful, like I'm just human, and I don't want to make it seem as if I do this perfectly at all. There have been times that I have, and guess what? Those times I actually usually don't make as much money.
What you said about the times that you marketed from this type place, it didn't go as well. That is something that I focused in email on it. I started writing a series, and I'm not at the end of it yet, but I started writing a series to my list of 4 big reasons why launches belly flop. Then my first one was going to be, you really need to do more pre-launch. You need to warm up your audience more and for longer. But literally on that day, I had a discussion with Hannah Greenstein, a great strategist who you may or may not know. And the thing that came up for her, and even for me, for my own launches I do for myself, was that the people who go in with this type mindset, they just do not do as well as the people who go in with that abundance. And you see it again and again and again. I'm completely not this type. I'm an extremely dangerously practical person. I'm just like, okay, let's sit there, let's just steam through the work, we'll work through the night, we'll just do work and workity work, and then that'll make everything right. And it's just not true, right? So tell me, Blimie, how to transition.
I am the opposite of you. I'm the least practical person. I need so much help with practical stuff. But for me, I believe it makes sense, because everything is energy and people can sense, I believe, even if we never say it with our words, I think people can sense where it comes from. And I think human beings in general are turned off by desperation and by fear, and because it's unpleasant, right? It's this like contraction. It's this tight, like you said. Nobody wants tightness. Everybody's looking towards abundance, well-being, joy. That's what we're attracted to. Pleasantness. That's what we're here for. Yeah.
Right, but it's even more metaphysical, because I can see creators who they run a launch one year, and then the next year they take the same emails, they do the same thing. Maybe they make one little difference. Let's say it's live or not live, but that should make a radical difference in sales. And literally the next year, I know their business is in a tougher place than it was the previous year. They do much worse. And it's not even like there's no interaction between creator and buyers and creator and student. It's literally just right.
Yeah, but that would be that makes so much sense
from an energetic point of view. Right.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it like with Hashem and Parnasa and all that from that point of view as well, right? Because then the trust is lacking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me, how would you advise somebody to transition from feeling in a tight place to an expansive place before they launch?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I imagine different things work for different people. I don't know what will work for everyone. I could share what works for me. And for me, it's actually speaking to someone who can listen to me empathically about my fear. So I talk and speak about how afraid I am and what I'm afraid of. And what happens is when I do that, when I really just let myself go into the fear and talk it out, I get to different places, first of all, where I start realizing either why I'm afraid or what I'm afraid of losing. And somehow I have this experience all the time whenever I really dive deeply into my unpleasant feelings, is that I somehow come to a place, it's almost like Hashem or my body takes me there. I don't even try, where suddenly I get to a place of peace, where either I'm like, oh, there's other ways to get that need met, or I get to a place of, okay, if that's the case, then there's also this I can do. There's also that I can do. Meaning I get to a place where I'm not so closed off anymore, where I realize that there's a lot of things that could support me, and this is not my only thing, and my life doesn't depend on this. And when I get to that place, I'm able to then, my body goes into a place of trust, a place of relaxation. Yeah.
Wow. That's huge. That's really huge. So recently I had a similar experience, because I've run my agency for a full year, right? It's been a very tumultuous year with ups and downs and various different reasons. And so I decided that I want to transition a little bit away from taking on clients as solid as I have. And I want to move into a slightly different business model. Recently, I just took a short break with my husband. We went away for a few days and we went to this gorgeous beach. And there was this like long path to a lighthouse. And you can look online, Roker Beach, UK. Very interesting. Like this long concrete way to a lighthouse. And we walked there, and the entire way there and the entire way back, I was just trying to talk it out and just to get out of this nervousness of what was making me feel so high strung, what was making me feel so tight. But then what was interesting was, and the reason why I brought this up is that I got to a place when I realized that even though, yes, there are loads of alternatives, there are so many different ways that money can come into your life, right? But then I realized that even all the buzzing ideas, right, was actually in my brain's way of covering up the fact that you can just trust in Hashem. So it was even just like thinking, yeah, okay, I could write a bunch of articles for Mishpacha. You know, I did that in the past. And if I pitch them a piece, then they'll pay me $500 and I could do that in a couple of days. And then that'll, you know, all these ideas are just like, you know, buzz. That is really covering up the same fear. So like I was like biting down through the layers, and then when I got down through that layer, the peace, it was completely unparalleled. To be able to actually, if you're able to get down, it's really hard. If you're able to get down, it's very incredible.
Yes, exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, it's like exactly. It's like a direct trust that your body actually feels. You were saying when you were thinking of ideas, like I could do this, I could do that. You still weren't trusting. You were still nervous. Right?
Exactly. And the amazing thing is that after that time where I managed to actually stop feeling so tight and stop feeling so stressed, then in just literally from that day, like the next couple of days, I got a whole bunch of leads and like different ways money did come into my life without doing anything really super active. So yeah, okay, we've proven this at least 10 times. Okay. So yeah, it's potent stuff. And I feel like there's so many people in the outside world who you live by these principles as well, right? Manifestation and stuff like that. But we're so lucky because we know what it really is, right? We really know that it's all about Hashem, and that, like Naomi Rubner says, she's fantastic. And I don't know if she made up this analogy by herself. She said, you can go up to Hashem and say, please Hashem, fill up my thimble. Or you say, Hashem, here's my Olympic swimming pool. Please, can you fill that up? Right? So it's like, we just have to get into that Olympic swimming pool mode.
Yeah. But all these things, I don't want to use the word work because it doesn't resonate. I was going to say all these things take work. I hate the word work. It doesn't resonate, but they don't just come to us. It's something that we have to move through, or something that or at least in my experience, it's not just something that, like sometimes I get stuck and sometimes I have to find my way through it or to it. It's not as simple for me as just thinking, oh, you have to trust in Hashem. That's what I mean by it not being an intellectual thing.
Yes.
It's something that like my body needs to believe and to trust, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's very, very interesting because the way most of us have been brought up is that Avodas Hashem means putting in the work, putting in a lot of work. And while it's true, but I think that a lot of the work really has to happen in the informational level, like to learn things. But for most of us to really be able to serve Hashem, it's more about cutting through noise, cutting through the blocks that we've developed.
I could not agree with you more. I love that you're saying that. I love that you're saying that because I've only discovered this recently, that's 100%. I so agree with that. It's about really cutting through all the noise. Yeah.
How do you differentiate between something which is like you really should be going out of your comfort zone to do, and the really only thing standing in between you and the thing is fear? And that fear, you know, if you want to grow, you're going to have to bust that fear out of the way, or something which it really just isn't right for you.
Yeah. So again, to me, it's about tapping into that feeling, meaning that I can feel the difference between something, but again, it's so nuanced. And this is why I'm getting better and better at it. The more I'm learning, this is why you call it intuition based, which is so true. Intuition is something that all of us have it inside of us. Every single one of us, our body is constantly communicating to us. And it's about learning to listen. You know, I'm still learning to listen, but I noticed there's a difference between there's something that let's say I feel that sort of pull towards it, like this abundance, this joy. And then there's also fear. There's but I still feel that pull. It's not just all contraction and all this is not a good idea. It's
Right.
yeah. And so in that case, then I'll try to move through the fear and I'll try to talk about it and work through what's keeping me, what's blocking me or whatever. However, if it's all contraction, if there isn't that pull at all or anything, then I just leave it. I'm like, this is not, there's no way I'm going to, basically, if I work through the fear, I'm still not going to be able to do it. I will be able to, but I'm not going to be able to. I won't want to because there's nothing pulling me towards it. There's none of that joy, abundance, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how to,
Right.
it's an expansion, a feeling of expansion in my body. Yeah. So that to me, that's how I know the difference.
It's such a like balanced answer. Amazing.
Yeah.
So did you ever go like against your internal signal and do something which didn't feel good? What happened?
Sometimes I betray myself, it's something that I'm
People
also
do.
learning. Yeah. I'm really learning. It's a journey. I'm probably always going to be learning how not to do that. But yeah, what happened is that honestly, it just ends up being really painful. That's why I don't want to do it. When I do something that just doesn't feel alive to me or that doesn't in some way, like doesn't have that pull or whatever it is, it's very painful because I'm working and I'm doing something that it just feels dead and just feels ugh to me. And I don't want to be doing that. It's a very painful experience.
But
So
does it
yeah,
actually impact like the thing itself? Like, do you do a worse job or is it
for
just the
sure.
experience?
For sure. There is no way. Should I tell you something? I think I get this all the time from people. People who come to me tell me that they are mostly drawn to my work because of my passion.
Right.
They feel the passion, they can sense it, and that's what they're drawn. And I think that's because what's passion? Passion is alive. It's life. We're all drawn to life. And when I even will know if I go to a teacher or go to somebody who is not connected to their work, who it's not alive for them, I feel dead inside too. I feel bored. So there's no way that if I'm coming from that place, if it doesn't feel alive to me and if I'm dead about it or whatever, then I'm 100% sure that everybody can feel it on some level. Now, again, some people are more in touch with what's going on inside of them than others, but I think everybody feels it.
Right. Yes, I think you're right. I mean, I'm very, very not, and I've never been, like I said, I'm this power through the night type of person. But lately, there's no question that I have been like feeling about how I feel towards certain things, and that really has guided my decisions. So if somebody like me can feel stuff like this, I'm completely like, if you say the word, I don't know, energy healing to me, I'm like running in the other way screaming, although I know it's a thing and I know it's real. But if somebody like me can tap into this, then anyone out there can.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So recently, then you did something different about your launch. I'm just transitioning a tiny bit away from this specific topic. Recently, you did something different about your launch. You ran a webinar for the first time and you sent out more emails than usual. So could you give us a bit of background? Because there's a lot of creators there who are familiar with webinars, and there's a lot of creators who are completely not familiar with webinars and what they can do. So can you tell us a little bit about what made you decide to go that route? Because even before we talked, you decided to do a webinar, and what difference it made.
So actually, before we spoke, but it was inspired by you. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I realized before this launch that I want to come from a place of abundance and all that. And I had this like idea to do something different, to do something new, to somehow find a way to reach people in a different way. And I actually joined you had a webinar about different ideas of what you can do differently in your business to reach people. And listening to my body, I literally listened with my body to everything you were sharing. And you said webinar, and I felt a feeling of abundance. I felt this excitement. I felt this pull. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I love that. I'm excited to share. I will do that. And so I did that. Yeah. And then I decided, you also mentioned about like following up with emails and like all the time. And until now, speaking of fear versus feeling like a contraction, being like, no, I'm not. I always felt afraid to send so many emails because I don't want to be a nudge. I don't want to be annoying. Right. And I was always like really worried about that. And not only that, also, I really don't want to be salesy. Something that like really, I don't know, for me feels so misaligned.
For sure.
I never want to promise anybody anything. I don't want to, and I have this imagination that I have to sound salesy if I'm sending emails. It's just, maybe that's because that's my experience receiving emails, is they're very
Right.
salesy, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I was always just pushing that off. But then hearing you, there was something about you that's very authentic, and that that I told you this the first time I met you, that, and just there's you have a lot of integrity. And I was like, okay, wait, if I ask her about how to do emails, I have a feeling she's going to be able to guide me in a way that actually is aligned with how I want to do things and isn't salesy. And because even the way you did your webinar wasn't salesy, I really like that. So I trusted you immediately to be able to support me with that. So yes, I did the webinar, which I loved. I enjoyed it. I would do it again because I enjoyed it so much. I actually enjoyed the experience of giving the webinar, even if it led nowhere. Like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that.
Sure.
And then I followed it up with emails, and you really supported me with how to do it in a way that stays connected to me. I don't promise anyone anything. I just share about my experience. I don't say about other, like, whatever it is, all the things we went through it. And anytime I had an objection, I would share, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And you would be like, no problem, let's do it this way. Or so it was great. It felt so nice to send the emails. It also felt like this feeling of expansion. I was so excited to share them. It was like each one, I was sharing something that I really wanted to share with my audience. It wasn't even like connected to, I'm trying to sell this to you, because like I said, I hate that. I hate even coming from that place inside of my body. Like, I don't want to be like, I'm doing it's for anything that's has some sort of manipulation. Like, I'm doing this so that you should take something from me, so that you
Yeah.
buy it, already feels off to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sharing from the place of like, I have this to offer you. Like, I love it. This is my passion. Like, here's what I want to share about it. And if you want, take it. That's where I wanted to come from. And that is where I managed to come from. And so I enjoyed every moment of all of it. Like, it really was so wonderful. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, there's two things I wanted to pick out here. First
Yeah.
of all, was that for all the course creators out there who are busy hiring copywriters, I want to just say is that you are the best person to write your emails, really, because of literally everything we've said. The copywriter will try their best, right? But you are the best person. If you can write, you should write, right? And for all those course creators or, product creators who are using ChatGPT to write their emails, don't. All this energy, all the goodness, all the stuff that comes from your heart, ChatGPT obviously can't produce it, right? So we're not even just talking about quality, because quality, forget about that. But we're talking about there's something real and human coming out of your words that sound like you. People read the email and you are talking in their head, right? The minute you send out a ChatGPT email, then it's like the words just aren't, they're not talking. They're not alive. And people definitely feel it. There's no question.
100%. There you go, about being alive. You see, everybody can sense it. Yeah. And by the way, I do want to say something about ChatGPT, because I did use ChatGPT's help, meaning just because I'm not a good at typing things up. And also sometimes my grammar or whatever, it's like, I don't want to have to read through it 100 times. So I did use it. I just want to put it out there. I used it to help me with editing. So I would say, this is exactly what I want the email to say. This is how and then it would write it up for me. And then I would go through it and tweak it. Because a lot of times it would say things that I'd be like, what? No, I don't want that in there. What are you doing? But I want to say that there is, if someone's like, oh my, I can't do it all by myself, I want to say ChatGPT really helped me, but it was my words, my energy, my everything. ChatGPT didn't have, it just supported me to write it up, but even then it had to be helped. But it's true. By the way, I can also tell, especially now social media, tons of people are using ChatGPT. I can tell instantly if something was created by ChatGPT. It does feel, it somehow doesn't land. Somehow there's like nothing coming through.
Yeah, for sure. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. I just want to say that, like, almost every single course creator feels that. We don't want to come across as salesy. You feel awful when you're the one sending it out. So I must say, as a copywriter, when I've written email sequences for other people, then it's way easier to be a salesy, not on your own behalf, right? It's way easier. Although I must say is that even, like, I would say my most salesy emails, I've had very good response. I've had people say, oh, I love reading your emails. I read all of them, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy. Like, they feel the need to write that. I would just want to say that even with sales emails, they don't have to be salesy. Nobody likes reading them and nobody likes writing them, but it is possible. And I'm just interested to hear, Blimie, you increased the frequency of your emails. Did you feel pushback from your audience that you increased the frequency?
Not at all. Well, first of all, I only sent tons and tons and tons to the people who were already somewhat interested in the course, who showed some interest. Either they
Interesting.
signed up to my webinar or they signed up to my email. Like they somehow opted in. I didn't send it to my whole list. My whole list, I sent a few. No, not at all. I didn't get feedback from anyone. I don't even think I got a lot of unsubscribes. I think, yeah, like I think for people who decided even not to take it, I think they just enjoyed reading it because each one was me just sharing a piece of myself or my passion or something that I think was enjoyable to read. It wasn't me like trying to sell the whole time. Yeah, although my intention was to be like, here's a course that I really believe could support you. I mean, if this is the right time for you, et cetera, and so forth. And here it is, you know? So yeah, it's weird because I was selling something, but with the energy of, I'm not desperate for you to take it. I'm not trying to manipulate you into taking it. I have this offer and I love it and I'm passionate about it. And if it resonates with you, I would love for you to take it. Like that was
That
more.
is the perfect approach because there's a lot of course creators, again, just from my experience, that it really feels like I'm not selling people something. I want to just teach. Just let me teach. Just get me an audience and I'll stand there, teach them. I'm not selling them nothing. But the thing is that just because you're asking someone to part with their money does not mean that you're not doing them the biggest favor ever, right?
Absolutely.
You can even think of it in extreme terms, like a private doctor, right? They're helping you, but you have to pay them because that's their job. You couldn't do what you do without the money, and that's it. And really, it helps people value it in a whole big way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think of what my teacher says. I'm going to butcher it the way he says it, but he says something like getting money, getting compensated supports me in doing what I love most. It does. If I didn't receive compensation for it, I would lose the energy to continue doing it, meaning it's a two-way street. I need to be compensated for my time and for my energy, not just giving, and we're not receiving anything in return. That's how I think it is with everything. And so, yeah, we're both doing each other a favor. I'm giving in information and transformational thing, hopefully transformational information that can really support them. And that does really support parents. And they're giving back to me, supporting me back by giving me money. And that supports me to continue doing what I love and to continue showing up and doing this for parents.
100%. If it's not something that you believe yet, it should be a mantra you read every day because it's literally the cornerstone of your business. I'm going to ask one more question. Is that what would you say to somebody who wants to run their business more intuitively, but is scared it won't work? They're scared to rely on themselves. They're scared that their body won't be telling them the truth.
Yeah. So I would say that the fear is telling them something. Meaning, again, speaking of intuition, I trust my body a lot. So I don't believe in jumping over anything, meaning the fear that, oh, it's not going to work is telling me something. Maybe that fear is saying, I don't know how to listen to my body yet. I wouldn't want to be like, push through it, do it anyway. To me, that's actually the opposite of being intuitive. To me, it's like I'm negating my own message by saying that, or my own values in a way. Yeah, it would be like to listen to that fear or to find someone who can support you in listening to that and to see what it has to tell you, see what it has to tell you, see where it takes you. And also, I don't believe somebody can push themselves to doing something that doesn't feel aligned for them. They could also, beyond that, find ways to be in alignment with themselves. They can practice it first somewhere else, not in their business, somewhere where it's less high stakes or where it feels less scary, but to start tuning into being in alignment with themselves and what feels good to them.
So that is so smart. That's a really good, like what to make for lunch or like even decisions like whether to go to that wedding or not, whether it makes sense to go into Shabbos or not. These things really do feel, you really can feel like, no, I cannot be bothered. No, I'm staying home. Right.
Yes, exactly. And so exactly, by the way, I started intuitive eating. I love what you said, food. I used to diet. Like that's how I decided what I would eat every meal. I started intuitive eating like around, I don't even know, maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago. That really taught me, one of the things that really supported me, I shouldn't say taught me, like to listen to my intuition. Yeah. It was like, does my body want this right now? Does this feel good? Is that pulling me towards that or is it not? I was amazed that my body knew because I didn't trust it for a moment before that, So yeah.
And I would say people, especially when you're in, I wouldn't say a vulnerable place because you are a strong person. You can do this, but when you're in a like more of a vulnerable place, try and just tap into your body and believe it and try and see if you can trust it. Because so often it really is telling the truth, whether it comes to business or personal relationships or specifically dating. It's such a powerful one.
Yeah, it really, really, I love that you mentioned that. Your body is there to support you. You know, I used to think there was no source for it because the way we grew up, I was always taught your body is, physical and is only looking, it's like your Sahara and whatever. But then I started looking at sources that says that your body is actually holds your neshama. So that's how your neshama communicates to you. It's more
Mm,
subtle and it's more fine, you know,
right.
the way that that's how your neshama communicates to you. So to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my neshama is literally communicating to me through my body. If I learn how to listen, I will hear it. So yeah, and so I think of it like it's your neshama wants you, is looking always for you to live. We b'chaim, like it's to live in the realest sense of the word. And so it's always looking out for you. And our body, I think, is a conduit for that. That's how else is it communicating to us but through our bodies. And I want to
Mhm.
say one more thing is that for me, I find it very, very supportive to have somebody who will listen to me and who also trusts my body. Because I think
Uh,
a lot of us don't trust our bodies or ourselves because we were raised, and again, not to put blame on anyone, I think everybody did the best with what they knew. We weren't mirrored it back, meaning like if we were a child and we said, I don't want to do that or whatever, it was just like, do it anyway or whatever. Now, again, I think that there's still an element of do it anyway in everything in life. Like we do hard things, but it was a missed opportunity to listen to, but what is your body telling you here? And maybe we can listen and just maybe adjust it according to what your body's telling you, or even just give you a sense of trust that your body's not betraying you. It's saying something and we can listen to it. And I think that most of us weren't raised with that. And so I think that
mm,
what supported me a lot to listen to my body is to talk to people who just listen and listen and who trust my body too, meaning that like they listen with like, oh yeah, so is it that you're saying this? And you're like, yeah, that's what I'm saying, you know? And I have learned to build more trust with myself by having people who are able to listen. I just wanted to mention that because I think that sometimes we
mm.
try to do everything alone, but Hashem created us to need others.
100%. Yeah, and that really resonates. Wow. Okay, thank you so much, Blimie. This has been a very interesting conversation. It took so many interesting turns, ways that I wouldn't have thought before. I was thinking of the topic. I was thinking it's a message I really want creators to hear. But the question is, how long can we even talk about it? And I feel like we could go on for another hour.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for interviewing me, for having me on, for letting me share about this. And I'm excited to hear what other creators have to share. Like for sure on the practical side. Oh my, I'm sure I have a lot to learn. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think we all have so much to learn from each other. And
Yeah.
especially now in 2025, when there's never been a better time to launch a course, but there's never been a worse time to launch a course, because I feel like the people who are in the game for 20 years, they have established businesses, they're making a lot of money, they're the big names in the industry, but for the little fish, it's got harder than ever. And so it's hard. So it's the best time and the worst time. And I think there's a huge amount to learn from anybody, the ones who've been around a long time, the ones who are just dipping their feet in. But I would say, if you have the knowledge to share, it's a crime not to. Really, because you've got so much to share with the world. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Blimie. It's been
you. Thank you
great.
so much, Sarah. I really, really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.